Hello, today I'm going to show you how to disassemble and reassemble a Ford 8-cut ignition cylinder using the Kwik8 Ford tool. So I will go ahead and zoom in on the lock so that you can see what's going on, and we'll go from there. Here is one of the most common Ford 8-cut ignition cylinders. This is the key buzzer switch, which is on top of the cylinder. Here's the retainer, which you have to push in to get out of the vehicle. And there's a ball bearing and spring detent in here that you have to press down on to get out of the take the ignition cylinder apart. On some ignitions like this one, there is a detent hole right here in the cylinder shell, in the casing, and you can use the Kwik8 tool to press down through that hole and press down onto the ball bearing to push it into the lock. And what you do is, here's the locked position. You turn the ignition till it completely stops, and then your ball bearing is right there, right below the poke hole. So you're gonna put your Ford Kwik8 tool into the ignition. You're gonna press down on that ball bearing and continue to turn it. Right now the ball bearing is already turned a little bit. Now I keep the retainer in because sometimes when you turn the ignition, the ball bearing is spring loaded and it'll go flying out if you don't have that retainer in there. I even had it fly through the retainer before, so I like to keep a finger on the retainer as I turn it. Okay, so now it is turned. You can pull this out with your fingers. Try not to bend the spring here. Now there's the ball bearing, so you can just turn the ignition over, and the spring came out and the ball bearing. Sometimes the spring doesn't come out. If it doesn't come out, you can actually pull it out using the Ford Kwik8 tool too. Just put it down in there and pull it out. Okay, so now the ignition will pull straight out. And if you see right here, that is the key buzzer switch that goes into this slot right here. On the newer ones, they're made out of plastic. This one is still made out of metal, out of some kind of steel. Okay, this is obviously uncoated since you can see right through on the wafers. But to put it back together, we're going to go ahead and put the key buzzer switch in. You have to be careful when you're putting this back in, because the key buzzer switch actually goes down into the lock cylinder, and if you're not careful you can bend that. So what I like to do is I like to just pull up with my fingernail, or you could actually use a pick or the Kwik8 Ford tool to hold that in place. But just put that in there, and you'll actually see there's a little detent there where the ignition goes together. And you have to make sure that the steel key buzzer switch little activator doesn't fall out too when you're doing that. So there, it's pushed in the whole way, and then we're at the position where we need to put our spring and the ball bearing back in. So spring goes in, ball bearing goes in, and it should sit right on top of the spring. See right there, the ball bearing is sitting on top of the spring. I realize it's probably hard to see, but now I like to do this on the edge of my bench. I just put this right on the edge of my workbench. The Kwik8 tool goes on top, pushes down the ball bearing, and turn the cylinder counterclockwise, and it already popped in place. Now the ball bearing is right there, if you can see it. So it's ready to turn back. and put our retainer back in. Now this retainer is sort of funny. You would think that it would go little side down, but it doesn't. It goes big side down. So lift the spring steel up just enough to get the retainer in place, and then drop it down in, and you're good to go. Of course, when you're gonna install it in the vehicle, you have to turn it. I put my finger on top of it and turn it until I can feel the retainer go down in. Now that's in place for it to be installed into the vehicle. So it just slips in, and then when it's in place, you can turn it to release the retainer. So that's it.